What the heck is going on with the talent tree for Frost Escalation? That's the question we'll be tackling today. Hello everyone, my name is Trevor, I go by TheMrTrails, welcome to the channel. Today's video contains content that is not currently in the game of Dauntless, but is not under non-disclosure agreement. This content may change before it gets into the live version of the game, and this is all done on a testing server. Consider this your spoiler warning. So, today we'll be taking a look at the Escalation talent tree for Frost Escalation. This talent tree is vastly different from all of the other escalations and makes for some very interesting problems for the game mode. But it is also a rather welcome change in my opinion. There are 34 places that you can invest your talent points into for the Escalation, and every single one of them is a passive skill upgrade. Passive skills, for those of you who've forgotten or aren't very familiar with the Escalation talents, are bonuses that are active every single time you enter the Escalation. Due to the magnitude of these passive skills, the amp selection of itself seems kind of lackluster. However, it seems to be mostly fun, as the talent tree is actually going to give you several extra damage sources throughout the entire Escalation that you won't have to rely on RNG for. Of the 34 places we can spend our talent points, we have 18 different passives making up the talent tree. 6 of these passives are familiar ones that we've seen in previous escalations. Zai's Maneuvers is the move speed passive, granting 5% move speed for each talent point invested. Farslayer's Precision is the wounding passive, granting 5% part damage converted into wound damage for each point invested. A mini acidic, if you will. Borman's Might is the stagger passive, granting 5% stagger damage for each point invested. Moira's Reinforcement is the damage reduction passive, granting 5% damage reduction per point invested. The two other familiar passives receive a change in the Frost Escalation tree specifically. Cat's Claws is the damage passive, granting 5% damage for the first point and 2.5% damage for the next 2 points invested. And we have Lucky Strikes, the critical passive, which in Frost Escalation will grant 5% crit chance per point invested, totaling 15%, which is up from 9% in previous escalations. The next category of passives relates to Frostbite, the core mechanic of Frost Escalation. Frostbite is similar to what it would be in real life. Over time, when you're exposed to the cold, your body slowly starts cooling down. When you've hit 100% on your Frostbite meter, you will be frozen, and your teammates will need to reduce your Frostbite to below 75% for you to be able to move again. If all Slayers in the hunt hit 100% Frostbite, the team will fail the hunt. Solutions for Frostbite are contained within each of the Escalation's avatars, which we'll get to in a bit. Other solutions are the new consumable, Cleansing Pylon, walking next to fire braziers, and when you kill a behemoth, your Frostbite is also reduced. There are many solutions to Frostbite, and it's pretty lenient in a lot of cases. So our first Frostbite passive is Insulated Gear, which has 3 different levels which are spread out in the start of the talent tree. Each insulated gear will slow your Frostbite down by 10% for a maximum base reduction of 30%. Next, we have Hot and Cold. Each level will give you an additional 5% attack speed, and at any level of Hot and Cold, getting hit will increase your Frostbite meter by 2%. There's no additional drawbacks to taking more of this attack speed, so if you take any, you might as well take all of it. Next, we have Bottled Warmth, which will prevent Frostbite buildup for 8 seconds after leaving the radius of a brazier. And we've got Warm Blooded, a passive that will save you once per escalation from dying to Frostbite, as when your meter hits 100% for the first time, you will be immediately brought down to 50%. I would say that Bottled Warmth and Warm Blooded are the most important of the Frostbite managing passives. And our last Frostbite related passive is Never Bothered Me, which basically will permanently keep you at 50% or higher Frostbite, but will give you 15% of both damage damage and damage reduction for this as a trade-off. Next up, we've got 3 miscellaneous passives. Frozen Armor will give you a non-stacking 25 health shield every 10 seconds for each Frost Defender amp active. Not going to lie, I have no clue what these Frost Defender amps actually are, and it's a pretty insignificant amount of shield anyway, and I don't think it's very clear which of the amps count toward it. We've got Heated Blade, which will give you a 50% damage boost to your next attack after absorbing a flame from a brazier, and this can stack onto multiple attacks. And we've got Cold Rush. When a behemoth dies, you gain 25% increased move speed, 15% increased attack speed, and 10% increased damage for 1 minute. This is only really useful during rounds 2 and 4 after you've killed the first behemoth. Otherwise, it will mostly go to waste, but depending on your situation, you may still want to grab this one. And our final type of passive in the Frost Escalation tree are the Aspect passives, which will give you a certain boost, and this boost will be made stronger when you've chosen a specific avatar. At the beginning of each Frost Escalation, you select an avatar, which will give you a certain passive bonus as well as a method of frostbite reduction. Each avatar is only selected by 1 player, meaning in a group of 4, you'll have 1 player of each avatar. I think we'll go over avatars more in their own dedicated video, but we'll go over some basics here, because each aspect passive grants additional benefit when you've chosen a specific avatar, but their base benefits will apply no matter what avatar you are. So the Avatar of Destruction is a critical strike focused player. The aspect passive Aspect of the Warrior causes crits to deal 10% more damage, which is increased to 20% when you are the Avatar of Destruction. This would mean when you're the Avatar of Destruction, you would deal 1.7 times crit damage, and that would be 2 times crit damage if you were running Cunning. The Avatar of Control is a staggering focused player. The Aspect of the Defender passive grants you 2% attack speed for the remainder of the escalation each time a behemoth gets staggered, and you'll gain 4% attack speed for each stagger when you're the Avatar of Control. The Avatar of Subtlety is a wounding focused player. The Aspect of the Scout gives you 2% increased damage whenever a behemoth part is wounded, becoming 4% each when you're the Avatar of Subtlety. And finally, the Avatar of Unity is a shielding and healing focused player. With the Aspect of the Mender passive, you grant 25 healing to all players every 5 seconds, and will heal everyone for 50 HP every 5 seconds when you're the Avatar of Unity. So we've finally gone over each of the passives, and now we can look at what should be prioritized in the talent tree. So at the beginning of the tree, we can choose to invest in Frozen Armor, Zai's Maneuvers, Farslayer's Precision, or Insulated Gear. We need to spend 4 of our talent points here before the next level is unlocked, and I would personally say that they should be invested in Zai's Maneuvers +3 and Insulated Gear. Frozen Armor is again a bit too insignificant an amount of shield for my taste, and Farslayer's Precision is honestly not necessary at all, even if you're going for a wounding focused run. It's unnecessary because the wound damage output in Frost Escalation, in the current state that it's in the experimental server at least, is absolutely insane. When I was playing Warpike and using the Avatar of Subtlety and my only extra source of wound damage was Catalyst with Wounding Tonic, I was able to spin to win and wound parts quickly. No acidic, no nothing like that. The based wound damage on the Warpike spin is 0. That's how crazy good the wound damage is for the Avatar of Subtlety. So even if you're going for a wounding focused build, we're going to spend these 4 points into Zai's Maneuvers and Insulated Gear to unlock the next part of the tree. In this next part of the tree, we need to spend 5 points now. So we'll go with Insulated Gear Part 2, invest 3 points into Hot and Cold, and for now investing 1 point into Borman's Might. Now we've unlocked the next section and we have to invest 4 more points from here, and we'll invest in Bottled Warmth and the final Insulated Gear with our first 2. Then it will be up to you to choose between extra damage reduction or extra stagger damage with the next 2 points. The next level of the tree will invest in Warm Blooded and all 3 into Cat's Claws, and the level after that will invest the 3 points into Lucky Strikes. From here, you can choose between a couple of other options with your next point. Heated Blade will be particularly good for axe users, and Never Bothered Me will be a good choice for those looking to maximize your damage potential. Or you can again invest in additional stagger damage damage or damage reduction. I personally can't highly recommend grabbing Cold Rush due to the rather low uptime it has. After you've made that next selection, you'll gain access to the aspect passives, and how many of these you take depends on your situation. I would recommend that all players grab aspect of the warrior and defender, whether or not you choose to play with their corresponding avatars, since you will still gain their base benefits. If you know you'll be playing in a squad a lot and will have someone who will buy into using a Warpike for the avatar of subtlety, then you can also take aspect of the scout. When I was playing Warpike as the avatar of subtlety, I was able to get around 20 to 30 wounds each escalation without focusing on it that much. If you've got a teammate who will do this every run, that's an extra 40 to 60% damage for everyone on the team by the end of the run if you all got aspect of the scout, and that's 80 to 120% damage for the avatar of subtlety. And again, this honestly makes Frost Escalation better than Umbral Escalation in terms of the usefulness of wounding. And if you've chosen all of those aspects, then you will have 2 more points to invest in another area. And here is my personal escalation skill tree that I would consider using most of the time. Never Bother Me has a worthwhile effect if you can pull it off, but it is particularly risky, especially if you're going to be playing with some lesser experienced players who can't quite take full advantage of the Frostbite reduction method of their avatar. On a final note, let's take a minute to address the amp selection pool. There's a mechanic that will make the amp selection not quite as good in Frost Escalation, but that extra power you'd gain from the really good amps is made up for compared to other escalations. Each time you set foot into a Frost Escalation using the talent tree that I have here, you'll have 15% movement speed, 15% stagger damage, 15% attack speed, 20% damage reduction, and instant revive, 25% damage, 15% crit chance, 10% crit damage, and permanently increasing damage or attack speed from staggers and wounds. On top of that, you'll get plus 50% damage buffs to a few hits at the beginning of each fight. Think of this escalation talent tree as a non-RNG way of giving us the buffs that actually helps weigh out with the bad RNG. And with that, we've arrived at the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like on the video. And if you enjoy Dauntless content and are not subscribed already, consider subscribing to the channel. Here I post Dauntless content every week. And you'll want to make sure you're subscribed to stay up to date on my early access Frost Escalation coverage. I've been Trevor, I go by TheMrTrails, and I will catch you guys next time.